Morning, everyone. Hi, Jocelyn.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another show.
Yep, welcome back. And today we're gonna touch on a topic which is pretty close to the previous one that we had on love, and that is about worthiness. Unworthiness is one of the core wounds, core separation wounds, which is distrust, abandonment, unworthiness. Of course, for in some other systems, there can be more core wounds like rejection, shame, and things like that. But I believe that those are still the subset of these three core programmings. And yeah, as far as worthiness is concerned, I think it's again a very big topic because it's so pervasive in life. I'm not sure about Western culture. A lot of my Western clients also experience issues with worthiness. And in Asia, that's even more pervasive. And for those of you who have major threes in your chart or fours also, maybe even 9, 18, and I think 14, 19. Yeah, those are the frequencies that can carry big lessons of worthiness. Then we also have 10-1. Yeah, 10-1 also has got
Yeah, 10 ones as well, yes.
yes. So if you have those frequencies in your chart, look out if there are major themes. If they are popping up everywhere in the chart, then look out and see how it plays out in your life and work towards undoing that pattern, because behind unworthiness is, for example, like different numbers, of course, we have different gifts, but we're talking about 9, which has worthiness issue, but it's a power number, it's the most
Yeah,
powerful number. So if we
exactly.
are not transmuting the worthiness thing under the 9, then you can't express that, you can't do big things, you can't effect big changes in life. And then we talk about 3, which is also got to do very much with worthiness issue, but 3 is also a master number, and it has potential to be a creative communicator that can be, influencers and things like
Yeah,
that. But how much can we open up that gift if we are not healing the worthiness part of the number? All the gifts behind these frequencies actually can only be activated once you work on the worthiness
yeah.
part of it. What do you think, Justin, as far as this unworthiness
Um,
pandemic is concerned?
I think I'm an expert there because I carry quite a number of threes, right? And I think it's a very big thing for me because my threes are like all over the place. The minute you open my chart, it's like, wow.
Mm,
Anyone who does this work knows that. Yeah. So I think worthiness is something that, like you said, once you work on it and you recognize it, that's the most important part. You're aware and you recognize. Because one of my biggest problems or blocks were not even recognizing it, because I thought it was something else all the while. But when I saw my chart and I identified to say, oh, that is what it is, I noticed how a lot of things actually changed, how they switch. Okay.
mm,
So definitely recognizing. Of course, I'm still working on some, that's for sure, right? But it gives you a lot more expansion. It allows you to expand once you are able to step into recognizing that, okay, this is what is happening. Okay, well, where is my worthiness with this? And you kind of knock the doors to open it up.
mm.
Yeah.
Yep. I would think that it's not very easy to recognize unworthiness. And a lot of people can just label something as unworthiness. Oh, okay, I can't find partners because I feel unworthy. We can't think ourselves out of unworthiness,
Yes.
unfortunately. So the key, of course, we're going to talk about undoing later if we have the time. But um, if we don't trace back at the root cause of what's happening, why it happens, or why certain behavior patterns or certain feelings show up, we can't just simply. Of course, the chart shows us that yes, there is this thing going on, like especially if you have threes and fours. But for a lot of frequencies, the immediate behavior pattern or feelings are not so much on unworthiness, but it feels more like distrust. It feels more like being
Good at something or
disempowered in something, in some ways. And then you don't recognize yet the layer of unworthiness because it's a lot deeper.
yeah,
And but as far as the behavior patterns are concerned, I think as you can notice certain things like clinging on to relationships that don't serve you, or difficulty making decisions and stepping in your own power, those are the signs and symptoms of unworthiness. And
yep,
this may be caused by family conditioning, like what we always talk about in the previous patterns, about societal conditioning, measuring by certain standards and certain um, levels of success. And like even when I was saying about love, like people feel shameful for saying that they are divorced, for example, because they feel that if they are left by a partner, they are not worthy
yeah,
to have love again. So that's the reason why, like, 3 and 4, for example, are very much connected to love, and also very, very much connected to worthiness. Because the moment you don't feel worthy, then it affects your relationship and your love with,
yep.
towards yourself and towards other people. So, social conditioning, family, childhood, all these different trauma and neglect, or abandonment issue, absence. I mean, these are pretty
Quite common.
common
Yes,
in a
quite
lot of families, right? So a lot of kids growing up to certain degrees have issues with questioning whether I'm worthy enough, whether I'm loved enough. And these two things usually go hand in hand. Of course, for some other numbers, it can be more about worthy to make decisions, worthy to stand on their own feet
yep.
and pursuing their own pathways.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you think would be contributing to this
I,
pervasive issue?
one thing I would like to add here is when it comes to when we say, feeling unworthy, right? Many people may hear this and say, yeah, there are times I feel that I'm not worthy of something or I don't feel like I'm good at something. But those who carry certain frequencies, especially like the threes, the fours, the nines, these frequencies, there is an extra depth level that they feel which is unexplainable. And a lot of this comes from their own internal programming because of the way they have experienced things. So maybe when they were younger, they were told that they were not good enough because they didn't complete something, or even in school, if teachers have said that they were not good enough, or even with friends, they felt like they were not up to par. So there are many aspects of it really,
Yep.
and it is those things that have become like an embedment into their selves, and it's a programming which is very deep rooted.
Yeah. Even though I don't have 3 in my chart, but I have karmic 4, and then I have 10 in a very prominent position. So in many ways, the whole perfectionism, the whole thing about self-esteem and making sure that I'm always on top of things, top of class, best staff, that kind of thing, is very entrenched in my operating system because
Yeah,
of all the expectations from the family that you've got to be this and that so that the parents can be happy. And especially for children who like to rescue their parents, just want to make their parents and their whole family happy, that is where they have to keep performing and keep self-sacrificing so that everyone else around them is happy.
yeah,
But in that process, then they're losing their sense of worth because their worth is measured only by people's happiness.
yeah,
And that's the issue with 10 ones and 17 8s, things. It's
yeah,
quite, oh, it's also quite a big
yeah,
thing
it
I
is, it
see
is.
in Asian society.
Yeah, and a lot of this boils down to how we feel about ourselves,
Mm.
because this is something which is very subjective because each of us could feel differently. And when we actually understand the frequencies and how they work in our chart, the next thing definitely to do is to identify areas of our life that is related to this.
Mm.
Because it is not that when somebody feels unworthy, like every area of their life, they're going to feel unworthy. But there could be certain parts of their life that they feel unworthy, which is not allowing them to step ahead or step forward.
Mm.
Because I have seen some who feel unworthy, but they are excelling very well in certain areas, like, for example, career perhaps, but not in their love lives. So the second thing to do is to always look at the areas that it is related to once you identify what's happening.
Mm. I also noticed that sometimes it's an overcompensation
Yeah,
where because of certain lack in emotions and personal relationship, they overcompensate in career. They
yeah,
keep looking for the next goalpost and next benchmark of success. Keep
yeah,
expanding,
true.
especially if you have 4 expansion, if you have 12-3 expansion,
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah.
So
So
it's about expanding.
that is why it is important to identify. So it doesn't mean that it is all about just one area.
Mm,
There has to be a balance. So once you identify this, then you're able to kind of zoom in and see, oh, okay, why am I doing so well here? Am I like putting my energy and my emotions here? Instead I'm trying to run away from somewhere else, right?
yeah. Or you, again, like you sacrifice yourself in certain things for people's happiness, but you're neglecting yourself for your own needs. So it's all coming from that sense of not being enough in many
Yeah.
ways. Yeah, the 22-4 also is a classic thing,
Yes, yes.
unworthiness issue.
Unworthiness, yes.
So of course it comes in the form of self-denial and feeling that they're not knowledgeable enough, not well-versed enough, not pretty enough, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, yes, yes, we've seen that, yeah.
But everyone expresses it in different ways and in different areas of life. So when we, of course, like what you said, when we take stock of life and of our behavior patterns, of our emotions, of feelings, of our maybe bodily symptoms, then we'll be able to trace back to what's going on and what childhood experience that
Yep.
caused it, and then you can slowly again peel the layers of the onion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about or want
When
to
you
discuss in
said
terms
about the
of?
bodily part, that is something that I can relate to because every time I feel feet ache, my heel ache, I always stop and ask myself, what am I afraid to move forward with?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow comes back to not feeling worthy to move forward towards something, right?
Mm,
So you can actually identify this. I think we spoke about this previously in our few earlier podcasts as well, how to identify this. So if you've not watched that, you can always go back to that and watch that, how to identify that even in your body, right? So
mm.
let's share one of the charts and speak from there as well. So Lynn, how do you look at this chart?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think you're a lot more familiar than me with this chart,
Yeah,
of
actually, this
course.
is my chart itself, right? So, of course, I am like so super familiar with this. So, like I mentioned, I've got trees like all over the place. And that is why going back to what we mentioned just now, I was super successful with my job,
Mm,
right? Like give me anything and it's sorted and I'm so good at it. And there were times when it came to different parts of my life, I did not feel that.
mm,
You that when of course at that point I didn't understand all of this, but after I'd done my reading and after I understood this, I knew why was I so good at that and I was not giving the kind of energy in other areas, right?
mm,
And once I understood that, that made a very big change in my life,
mm.
right? In terms of
Yeah.
creating the business that I've created, in terms of my relationship with my kids, in terms of my relationship with others even.
Yep.
So it allowed me to actually understand that. And now it is much more balanced because I see why is it that I was giving so much of attention to this one particular area and I thought I was super dynamic at it.
Yep. Yeah.
Because sometimes you're just trying to suppress the unworthiness that you feel in other areas.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
validates.
in some ways, of course, like a lot of expansion energy of the 4 of the 12-3 in your chart, and it's on both physical and spiritual levels. So whether it's about learning new things spiritually, whether it's about expanding your job, your business, of course, again, we have to ask ourselves, what's driving us? Can we slow down? Can we take a step back? Can we take a break from all these things instead of us just
Yeah.
keeping on going and
Those are the
expanding
things
and
we all have
burning out.
learned as well with our journey through this whole soul contract journey, right? One of the big things that I think I have learned personally is to learn to slow down
Mm,
because we now recognize, oh, I'm moving in this speed because of this, right? And
yep.
right now I need to just put a brake behind and chill.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think with a lot of trees, especially, I've
Mm,
also noticed that I'm able to relate to this so much, especially with my clients. And I see that a lot because once you've already understood it, you're able to work through it, right?
yep.
And then breakthroughs actually happen. That's
Mm,
what I've noticed. Yeah.
yeah. I remember that when before I knew about soul contract, I used to have this relationship pattern where I attracted a lot of emotionally unavailable men, not at one time, but one by one. I was starting the journey of meditation, and one day I was just contemplating on that pattern of relationship that I had, and it dawned on me like a lightning bolt. One of the days I was just standing at a shop lot, like waiting for my taxi, and it dawned on me that, oh, all these relationships happened because I didn't feel worthy of love. And that recognition or that realization came very unexpectedly, but it was clearing up the whole mindscape that I had at that moment. And from that moment onwards, I stopped being engaged in all these relationships. And shortly after that, I met my current husband. So, what I'm saying is that when we actually clear that block to worth, clear that sense of unworthiness, because the realization came as in, I see you. The moment you see it truly for what it is, it no longer has any grip on you anymore. And once it's cleared out of your way, different things will be starting to fill up your space.
Yeah.
Whether it's new relationship, whether it's new career choices or options, then of course we cannot know what the potentials are because everyone is different.
Yeah.
I've seen a number of clients who work diligently on worthiness from the time they start their spiritual journey, and they recognize that whether they know their soul contract or not is secondary, because if you know, then it confirms and then it helps guide
Yeah.
you through
Exactly.
the process. But even if
True.
you don't know and you recognize all these behavior patterns, and you start working on that consciously, you do cord cutting, you do energy healing, you do journaling, you do therapies, whatever you can do to clear these blocks, then the new potentials would come in. Like I see so many people who suddenly just enter new relationships and committed
Yeah.
relationships once they heal this block.
True.
So,
Absolutely. Even like for me itself personally, it's a huge thing to be able to even do this podcast. Huge, huge. If you asked me a few years ago, would I actually be seen on social media? No, because
and
I
I
never
think,
had Facebook, neither did I have Instagram until about a few years ago.
yeah, it's funny because you have got all these communication numbers in your chart, like 1783, the sharing number of the 4 and the 2. In the same way, I think a lot of us were not born a speaker or communicator or a writer or a blogger, but we have to learn through that process of doing it, acknowledging the gifts and acknowledging that we are drawn to it, and step forward and do it. Because if we just keep having the fear, the fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of going against the
Yeah. No,
standard of the world, bring our message out into the world, then we'll just keep staying in that corner of,
that's
behind the office desk and just do the same
yeah,
things
yeah, yeah.
our
That's
whole life,
it,
right?
one very big thing which I also noticed with the theme of worthiness, right? It
Mm.
is not only about how you feel, but also about how you feel being seen. So
Mm.
it's also perception based. Because with my trees, I did do a lot of expression in the sense that I was teaching at the university before. So all my life was about teaching, but I felt it was so weird that I couldn't speak on a public platform like this.
Mm.
And actually, it was more connected about the fear of being seen.
Mm.
Of course, the underlying is unworthiness. So there are many layers to this, actually. And it's not just one perspective of being unworthy itself. So unworthiness could be you are afraid to be seen, you're afraid to be heard, you're afraid that your opinions may, So there are so many areas around it.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, worthiness is one of the biggest, and it's impossible for us to bring up all the different aspects to discuss in this
Yeah.
little podcast. But what we will encourage you, as whoever that is listening to this and who is looking at your soul contract, is to see whether you have all these frequencies, whether it's a big lesson for you, and what are the gifts that are gonna be available when you clear up this block. Because for every frequency, the gifts are different.
Yeah, of course.
So just have to embrace what you have and then just start somewhere. You can start like us, we're just talking and we don't have a big audience, honestly.
Yeah.
Right. But it's about learning the skills, it's about expressing yourself and standing in your truth, and not being afraid to be judged or to be called out. And we learn through the process, and we shed all the different layers of this imprint in that process while we are claiming the gifts. And that's the emphasis that I focus a lot more on in the recent years, and also for my clients, to encourage everyone to just focus on the gifts, put your eyes on the prize,
Yeah.
instead of keeping the eyes on the patterns, why I'm so still feeling so unworthy and stuff like that. No, the why is because of the conditioning. If you are focusing on just doing the work and just moving, one day the understanding or the clearing would be so deep that things would be so different for you. The reality would be shifted so vastly that life would never be the same.
True.
That's the encouragement that
Yeah.
we have as a takeaway.
And of course, if you want your chart to be, for us to just do a summary or reading or something like that, there's a form which is on this YouTube. It's on our social media as well. You can fill up that form. And, during the next podcast, we can always pull your chart out and give you a brief, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone. Thank you for listening. And we will come back next year with more topics, and let us know what you want to hear. If you want to hear different areas, you let us know. Please drop us a comment on our YouTube or even our social media, and we'll pick up those topics and we will go deeper into them.
And let us know if it's helpful. Whatever we say, of course, this is what we are passionate about. So we share from our own experience and our own journey of working with clients and working with ourselves. But everyone is different, and you may bring in new stories and new understanding, even with the same numbers that we talk about. There may be other layers because the numbers would interact differently as well.
Yeah.
And they sit at different positions. So yes, hope to see you again, and
bye. Happy New
Year
Year
to everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.